Welcome into Steelers Talk. I'm your host, Jack Sperry, and today it is my latest 7-round Steelers mock draft, my 5th of the draft season to this point. Can't wait to share with you guys my latest crop of Steelers players that you should be keeping your eye on this draft season. But before we get into the content today, if you want another Steelers mock draft next week, make sure you guys click that thumbs up icon right now. If we can get to 500 likes on today's video, we will make sure to get you guys another Steelers mock draft to you guys next week. So if you've been watching this series throughout the draft kind of schedule here in the season, my rule this year is I'm not repeating players on these mock drafts. All right, so I have to find new players every single week to fill out all 7 rounds. And my reasoning for this rule, guys, is I want to put as many prospects in front of you guys as I possibly can. I don't want to talk about the same players week in and week out like a lot of different people that do these weekly mock drafts do. I want to put more players in front of you guys so you guys can be more aware of more of these draft prospects that are out there and I think are good fits, what the Pittsburgh Steelers are looking for at their various team needs. So without further ado here, let's get into the first pick here. And wait a second, guys. My phone is ringing right now. All right, the phone is ringing. I'm going to pick it up. All right, it's the Kansas City Chiefs here, guys, and they're looking to move up from number 31 overall to number 21 overall. They're looking to get a left tackle of the future, whether Josh Simmons or Kelvin Banks Jr., and they are offering us the 3rd-round pick. They have 2 third-round picks this year, all right? And they are currently offering us number 66 overall, which is a really early 3rd-round pick, in exchange for a 1st-round pick swap here to move down from number 21 to number 31. I'm going to accept this right here because according to the trade draft value chart, the Steelers actually win this trade, all right? So I like the value here. It gets you an additional day 2 pick, and because it's an early 3rd-round pick, you can almost see it as like a late 2nd-round pick as well. So you're going to be able to get a good player at number 66 overall, and with the trade down here, I'm going to take Jaxson Dart, quarterback out of Ole Miss, number 31 overall. All right, and if I'm being completely honest with you guys, I know it's my mock draft. I don't necessarily love this pick, but I already took Tyler Shuck, who I like more in a previous Steelers mock draft, and I think if the Steelers are going to go quarterback in the 1st round, I would rather have them trade down and get an additional day 2 pick. So if they are going to take Jaxson Dart, I think that it does make sense to trade down with the Kansas City Chiefs, get that additional pick. And, there are other options out there. They could probably trade up for Shedeur Sanders if he gets past the Giants at number 3 overall. Tyler Shuck is somebody I've already taken in a previous mock draft, so he's off the table for today's mock. But I would certainly be okay with him even at this spot. And then Jalen Milroe is somebody even that has been rumored to the Pittsburgh Steelers in recent weeks, even as high in round 1. So I think that if Pittsburgh goes round 1, quarterback, I'd want them to trade down. And that's exactly what I did in this mock draft. I haven't taken a quarterback in round 1 in a mock so far this draft season, so I figured now is around the time to kind of show you guys what my kind of ideal version of what that would look like here. And if I'm being honest, like I said, I would rather take Tyler Shuck over Jaxson Dart. I have a higher grade on Shuck than I do Dart, but like I said earlier, my rule is I can't repeat picks from previous mock drafts, and I do think Jaxson Dart does fit with what the Pittsburgh Steelers could be looking for in their next franchise quarterback. I don't think he has superstar upside. I think that, kind of at his ceiling, he'd be like a Derek Carr type of quarterback, and I'm sure that doesn't excite a lot of people when I say that, but he throws the ball down the field with really great precision and accuracy and touch. The Steelers really want a quarterback that can do that off of play action. I think Dart can do that right away if you need him to. And then, he's got some mental processing questions, but I think if you give him a year to learn behind a veteran, whether that's Aaron Rodgers, whether that's Mason Rudolph or somebody else, I think that Dart can eventually develop into a quarterback similar to like a Jalen Hurts. Or if you put a great roster around him, he can be a winning quarterback for a complete roster for a team in the National Football League. So when it comes to the trade down, all right, like what do you guys think about this potential trade down? If the Chiefs offer you this, would you accept it or would you decline it? You don't have to take a quarterback, by the way. This is just the trade itself. Would you trade this year's 1st-round pick, do a pick swap, if you get an additional 3rd-round pick from the Kansas City Chiefs? Give me an A for accept or D for decline. This will be the pinned comment on today's show, so YouTube's going to throw you an ad break here in just a couple of seconds. When that happens, take advantage of that time. But let me know if you would accept this trade down offer from Kansas City. So now we get to that pick number 66, the pick we got from Kansas City, and I'm going to take defensive back out of Penn State, Kevin Winston Jr. Let me tell you, man, I love this kid's game out of Penn State. He was kind of being projected as almost like a borderline first-round pick heading into last year's college football season. Then he gets injured. He doesn't really play the entire year, and I think a lot of people are forgetting about him. But his 2023 film, man, he's one of the best safeties in college football. He can play from a bunch of different alignments, free safety, in the box or in the slot. The Steelers would be asking him to play in the slot right away, but he can be a disguised chess piece that can play different alignments, and you can use him in post-snap rotations as well. I think he's a phenomenal tackler. It's just you don't find a lot of weaknesses in his game. Now, the injury stuff, you're going to have to check his medicals, all that different stuff, but I think Winston Jr. is a really special player, and if he's available at number 66, if the Steelers end up making this trade down, I would be thrilled to make him a Pittsburgh Steeler at this point in the NFL draft. Then also in round 3, I'm going to get the nose tackle of the future here in Alfred Collins, defensive tackle out of Texas. Now, Collins was so good as a nose tackle there at Texas. The Texas Longhorns didn't really have a true 3 technique, all right? They had a nose tackle, that was Collins, and he was two-gapping pretty much in every single play, and he did it with incredible efficiency. His ability to two-gap is really, really special. Take on those double teams and still cover both A-gaps there is really special. Then they had 2-5 techniques, which is kind of like wider alignment, almost like 3-4 defensive end alignment type of guys that were really allowed to rush the passer. So Collins is a dominant run defender. He's also better than people give him credit for as a pass rusher. Just dominant power with the bull rush, all right? So not only do you get somebody that is going to be a dominant run defender for you from day one, which will allow you to put Keanu Benton at the 3 technique, where I think he's a little bit more suited in terms of his skill set to be a more disruptive player, but Collins is also going to give you some pass rushing upside at the nose, where he's one of the rare defensive tackles that actually had higher pass rush win rate as a nose tackle than as a 3 technique. That's how good he is rushing from the nose, and I think he can start right away. You can get him in round 3. I think he'd be a phenomenal talent to add to the Steelers' defensive line. So coming up here on the Steelers Talk mock draft this week, I got my day 3 picks for your Pittsburgh Steelers coming up here in just 1 second. But before we get into that, and we're talking about more players that the Steelers will add to their roster this year, let's talk about somebody that they've already added to their roster this year, trading for superstar wide receiver DK Metcalf. Go to chatsports.com/DK to get your officially licensed DK Metcalf Steelers jersey. He's going to be wearing the number 4 this year. So if you're excited about Metcalf being a Pittsburgh Steeler, you want to get his jersey today, you go to chatsports.com/DK. Click that link, make a purchase, and Fanatics will send us part of the proceeds. So you not only do you get your Metcalf jersey, but we also get part of the proceeds, and it helps us out here at Steelers Talk. So if you want to help out the channel and you want to help yourself out here as well, go to chatsports.com/DK and get your jersey today. So here in round 4, I'm going to address a running back, and I'm going to get Bashal Tutin, running back out of Virginia Tech. And I love this guy's film, man. I am in love with Bashal Tutin, especially with the offense that the Steelers want to play. I think Tutin, he's got a little bit of a fumble issue that he's going to have to figure out in the league. But in terms of being a true outside zone rushing running back, Tutin is probably top 5 in this entire class. His burst is unbelievable. Ran a 4.32 40-yard dash. He had incredible 10-yard and 20-yard splits as well. And then when you watch him on film, guys, he's tougher than kind of his height and weight would kind of suggest. He had 24 bench press reps at his pro day. To put that in perspective, defensive tackle Ainias Peebles there with Virginia Tech had 28. All right, this guy is a running back that is undersized, going pound for pound with one of the strongest defensive tackles in this entire draft class. All right, so Tutin not only brings a really, really good ability to accelerate and make big-time plays. I think 13% of his runs last year were 20 or more yards last year for Virginia Tech. He also had a high missed tackle rate. This guy can move, but he can also break tackles. He's extremely strong. And I think that he's got an upside to be a legit, true number 1 running back in the National Football League. He goes a little bit later because he did have a little bit of a fumble issue in college, but that's something that's coachable. And I think with his explosive skill set, getting a guy like that in round 4 to pair with a guy in Jaylen Warren, who's already an established, really good running back in this league, is exactly the type of move the Steelers need to make in the middle rounds this year. Then in round 5, I'll take the wide receiver that is getting slept on the most by the Pro Football Focus big board. Right now, Kyle Williams out of Washington State is currently ranked the 160th overall prospect on the Pro Football Focus big board right now. Let me tell you, that's crazy. All right, I think Williams should go in the first 2 days of the draft. At the very least, he should go in round 3. Because he's one of the best overall route runners in this entire class, and he's phenomenal after the catch as well. He can separate down the field. He's a vertical threat in that way, and he can make some nice catches in contested situations as well. Chris Sims had him ranked as his number 2 wide receiver this year on his wide receiver rankings. That's a bit rich for me, Chris, but I see where he's coming from. He is a very, very good wide receiver, and if he's available here on day 3, he reminds me a lot of Deontay Johnson, man, but he's faster. I think he's better after the catch than Deontay was. He's one of the best route runners in this class, and he can separate against man just like Deontay was always able to. And this team, frankly, has not been able to replace Deontay's role in this offense since he left. You can do it right now with somebody that I think is even better and somebody that's going to be better for your locker room as well with Kyle Williams out of Washington State. Then in round 6, I'm going to take an offensive tackle, and I'm going to convert him to a guard. Emory Jones Jr. out of LSU. He got his ass kicked at the Senior Bowl at tackle, plain and simply. He's not an NFL tackle, guys, but I think that he's got the body type and the physical kind of pedigree to move over to guard and be a really good one and be a potential starter in the league after a year of development. Last year, the Pittsburgh Steelers took Mason McCormick to develop into a future starter at offensive guard. They can do the same thing with Emory Jones Jr. if they can get him in round 6, which is a realistic possibility. Have him learn behind Isaac Seumalo at left guard, and maybe you can make a plan for him to eventually take over whenever Seumalo ends up leaving the Pittsburgh Steelers. Then in round 7, because I took kind of a tiny running back in round 4, and Jaylen Warren isn't the biggest guy in the world either, I'm going to take somebody to take care of some of the short yardage work, goal line work, and Ollie Gordon, the second running back out of Oklahoma State. Now, Ollie Gordon's got a pretty decent physical profile, but I just think that he's a little stiff. I don't think that he's necessarily the best in terms of vision and picking the right lanes to go through. Kind of reminds me of Najee Harris, if I'm being completely honest with you. But right now, because this is such a deep running back class, he is somebody that brings a really good size and speed combination. And I think that if you're looking for a bigger back to kind of help this team out in short yardage situations, Gordon can do that immediately, but he also brings a little bit of upside to potentially even work his way up the depth chart in years to come. So I think that you can round out your running back room here with a really good wide receiver or running back room of Bashal Tootin, Jaylen Warren, Kenneth Gainwell, and Ollie Gordon II. And I think if you're going into the season with that, you're pretty much injury-proof, and that's exactly what I want this team to do heading into next season. So here is my mock 5.0 haul, taking Jaxson Dart in round 1 after trading down, getting Kevin Winston Jr. to be the new slot defender and maybe future free safety for the Pittsburgh Steelers. Alfred Collins is the day 1 starting nose. Bashal Tootin, a running mate with Jaylen Warren in the backfield for Pittsburgh. Kyle Williams, a steal in round 5 if I've ever seen one. Emory Jones Jr. to be a developmental guard prospect for this team, and then Ollie Gordon II to round out the running back room for 2025. Give me an A, a B, a C, a D, or an F down there in the comments section, and that'll be it for this week's mock draft video here on Steelers Talk. I appreciate all of your guys' support. Click that subscribe button if you haven't already. Until next time, guys, here we go, Steelers.